Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today into something called NAgDI, National Agricultural Data Infrastructure. Sounds super technical, I know,
Uh,
but it's really where, technology meets farming, meets big questions about data, control, and food security. It's pretty crucial stuff.
Absolutely. And we've got some fascinating source material here, insights from the from silos to systems community, basically a series of e-conversations from just last month, October 2025. These is the folks on the front lines, experts, government people, advocates, all wrestling with how to make these big digital ideas actually work on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is to cut through the jargon. We want to get a handle on NAgDI, this related idea of digital public infrastructure, or DPI, understand the main tech components, and really dig into this big debate that's brewing about centralizing data versus keeping things local and resilient.
Okay, so let's start with ADI itself. Think of it like this. If DPIs are the tools, the software, the systems, NAgDI is more like the instruction manual, or maybe the philosophy behind how you use those tools responsibly in agriculture. The Commonwealth Secretariat, they've outlined this NAgDI approach, and it's built on four main pillars. Really needs all four.
Right, I saw that list. You've got policies and principles that make sense, and technologies and systems, obviously. But the other two are governance and administration, and marketing and business model. That last one surprised me a bit. Marketing.
Well, yeah. It sounds commercial, but it signals something important. They know this can't just be some government IT project pushed from the top down. It has to actually work, deliver value, be sustainable.
Yeah.
People need to want to use it, farmers, companies, government agencies. So yeah, it needs a business model, a way to sell its value.
Okay, that makes sense. It has to survive in the real world.
Exactly. And they also make this key distinction between user data, info about the farmer, and content data, stuff like crop yields, field boundaries, farm activities, different data, different rules.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk tech then. The foundational layers, the DPI building blocks, what came up in the discussions?
The absolute basics, things you really can't do without. National ID systems, specific farmer IDs, field IDs, usually using GPS polygons to map plots, common data standards, so everyone's speaking the same digital language, and secure ways for systems to actually exchange data, what they call bilateral data exchanges.
Like digital plumbing, almost.
Pretty much. And there was a specific example highlighted for that exchange part, X-Road.
Ah, yes, X-Road. I've heard of this. It's that open source data exchange layer, right? Free to use.
That's the one. Apparently, it's running successfully in, over 27 countries? Huge growth spurt recently in Latin America, and they're looking at it seriously in parts of Africa, too. It's
Huh.
basically a secure way for different databases, government, private sector, whoever, to share specific pieces of information without having to merge everything into one giant vulnerable system.
Keeps data where it belongs, but lets it flow when needed. Smart.
And it's evolving fast. They mentioned X-Road version 8 is coming, codenamed Spaceship, which is focusing heavily on these new data space standards. So it's keeping up.
But, having the cool tech isn't enough, is it? The example shared from Tanzania and Benin really hammered that home.
Oh, definitely. Those case studies showed it took massive effort beyond the technology, getting regulations aligned, coordinating between different agencies. Often, that's the harder part.
Right. People problems, policy problems.
It just reinforces that NAgDI approach, needing all four components. There was this great point from the Minister for ICT in Tunisia. He shared 10 big lessons learned from rolling out their national DPI, and the top ones. Not about servers or code. They were about needing solid legislation first, clear regulations, strong data protection rules, and maybe the toughest bit, getting everyone to agree on a shared vision.
Yeah, the human element again. Okay, so X-Road is the pipe. What about the stuff in the pipe, the actual data structures? That brings us to the farmer registry and this thing called OpenSPP.
Right, OpenSPP. It's flagged as a digital public good, or DPG. It's a platform, quite modular, originally big in social protection programs like welfare registries. But it turns out it's really well suited for agriculture, too, basically, because it's designed to manage these huge, complex lists of people and related data.
Interesting. Why use a social protection tool for farming, though? Seems like different worlds.
Well, the core challenge it solves is data fragmentation. You have farmer info scattered everywhere, different ministries, different projects, NGOs. OpenSPP is built to handle that, to link and standardize siloed information. Look at the Sri Lanka example they discussed. The government needed a way to track fertilizer distribution, see who was using too much, who wasn't getting enough. They used OpenSPP.
How did that work, practically?
They set up registries, lists of farmers, their farms or plots, and the activities happening on those farms. But crucially, They didn't send out armies of government staff to collect the data. They empowered existing farmer organizations to enter the info about their own members.
Ah, okay. So building it from the community level up, but using a standard platform.
Exactly. And Michel Mouchirud, one of the contributors, made a really strong point about this. He argued that countries often get paralyzed waiting for a perfect national digital ID or payment system. But you don't necessarily need to wait for everything. A solid, verifiable farmer registry built using something open like OpenSPP can be that foundational step. It gives you verified identity, location, crop data right now. And that data can then fuel other things later, like access to credit or climate advice, even if the big national systems aren't fully baked yet.
So it's like a practical starting point. Get the core farmer data organized first.
Yes. And OpenSPP itself helps address two big worries. That fragmentation problem, by aiming to be a single source of truth using open standards, and the fear of vendor lock-in. Because it's modular, open source, built with APIs, countries can pick the parts they need, connect it to other systems, and avoid getting trapped in expensive proprietary contracts.
Okay, that sounds, well, it sounds sensible. Standardized, interoperable, starting with the farmer registry. But this is where the pushback starts, isn't it?
This is exactly where the core conflict emerges, because standardization and interoperability sound great in theory, but when you talk about applying it to millions of diverse farmers across a country, suddenly issues of trust, control, and efficiency bubble right up to the surface.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting and potentially quite contentious. You have this vision for connected systems, but then you hear strong skepticism about centralization.
Very strong skepticism. People like Charles Diwa articulated it powerfully. His argument is basically, look, the sheer scale and cost of trying to centralize registries for, say, 5 or 15 million farmers. It's a rock-solid justification. He warns it could lead to massive inefficiencies, data overload, what he called analysis paralysis, just too much information in one place to be useful.
And he went further, didn't he? He suggested that maybe fragmentation isn't always bad.
Yeah, that was a key point. He argued that fragmentation can actually be a strength, a source of resilience. He pointed to the COVID lockdowns in Africa. If food supply chains had been totally centralized and digitally integrated, he suggests, local disruptions could have caused widespread collapse. Instead, those localized, somewhat fragmented systems and knowledge silos actually provided buffers. They kept things moving locally.
So his idea is build local digital capacity first.
Pretty much. Use digital tools to strengthen local knowledge silos first. Let communities get comfortable managing their own data, building their own insights. Then, once they have that local control and understanding, they can engage with the government or other actors about data sharing from a position of, well, equal footing, not just having data extracted from them.
And this resonates with other concerns too, right? Like those raised by Gupta-ji about ownership and transparency.
Absolutely. Gupta-ji asked those hard questions. Who actually owns the servers? Who runs the software? Is it transparent? They mentioned real concerns in India about the government potentially allowing private companies like Microsoft access to the national AgriStack data.
Yeah.
Is this really for public good, or is it creating opportunities for corporate control? That's the fear.
So deep mistrust there, concerns about corporate capture, efficiency worries. How does the NAgDI concept try to square this circle? How do you get the benefits without triggering these fears?
Okay, this is crucial. Ben Adam, who's deeply involved with the NAgDI framework, provided a really important clarification in the source discussions. He stressed NAgDI is not about creating one single giant centralized farmer database. That's not the goal.
Okay, so what is the goal then, if not centralization?
The goal is primarily to reduce duplication.
Yeah.
Think about it. A farmer gets surveyed by the input supplier, then the extension service, then the credit provider, all asking basically the same questions because their systems don't talk. NAgDI aims to harmonize these multiple existing registries. So the input registry, the finance registry, the extension service list, they could securely check and confirm that Farmer Jane in one system is the same Farmer Jane in another. It ensures her profile is consistent across systems without needing to pull all that data into one central pot.
Ah, okay, so it's about making the existing silos talk to each other, not destroying them and building one giant one.
Precisely. He used a fantastic analogy, the Zimbabwe grain silos.
Oh, yeah, tell us that one.
So imagine you have 50 different grain silos across the country, some owned by farmers, some by companies, some by NGOs. The government needs to know the total national grain reserve for policy planning. NAgDI's approach isn't to confiscate all the grain and build one massive government silo. No. It's about enabling those 50 individual silo owners to report their holdings in a standardized way so the government can accurately sum up the total. The individual farmer or company keeps control of their own silo and their own grain. But the system allows for standardized collation of data for the public good, like knowing the national total. Interoperability, not forced integration.
That's a great analogy. It really clarifies the harmonization, not centralization idea. Okay, makes sense. Now, there was one last point of confusion that popped up in these discussions, right? About whether NAgDI itself is a DPI. Someone even asked an AI.
Yes. They asked Copilot AI, is NAgDI a DPI? And the AI apparently said yes, which immediately caused confusion among the actual human experts on the thread.
Shows the limits of AI sometimes.
Indeed. So Ben Adam had to step in again with the definitive clarification. NAgDI is not a DPI.
Okay.
NDI is an approach or a framework for delivering or deploying DPI effectively and responsibly in the agricultural sector.
Okay. So DPI is the tech, the products like X-Road or OpenSPC, and AgDI is the how, the strategy, the process, the principles guiding the deployment.
Exactly right. DPIs tend to be technology-driven, product-focused. NAgDI is holistic, process-focused. It emphasizes all those other crucial pieces, the policies, the governance, the marketing business model, as well as the technology. It's about ensuring the process leads to sustainable adoption and actual use of the tech for public benefit.
So for you listening, the takeaway here is that just buying shiny new tech, a DPI, isn't the answer for agricultural digitization. You need that AgDI approach, focusing on the how and the why, the governance, the trust building, the ethics, the sustainability plan to make sure the tech actually works for everyone.
That NAgDI framework provides the roadmap for doing it right. It ensures the technology serves its purpose.
Right. So let's try and sum this up. What have we really unpacked today?
Well, we saw that building a functional NAgDI needs that four-part holistic view: policy, technology, governance, and that crucial business model marketing piece.
Yep. And we looked at some of the core DPI tech layers involved, things like the X-Road for data exchange and OpenSPP as a potential base for farmer registries.
And then we hit that central tension: the drive for interoperability to cut down on duplication inefficiency versus the deep-seated need for local control, local data sovereignty to maintain trust and resilience, avoiding the pitfalls of over-centralization.
And the NAgDI approach, clarified by that silo analogy, tries to navigate this by aiming for harmonization, not just central control.
Exactly. But there was a big question left hanging in the source discussions, wasn't there?
Yeah, the elephant in the room, the private sector, it came up again and again.
Huge skepticism, as we discussed. Charles Dewa worried that maybe only big players like mobile operators or input giants would really engage, potentially just to lock in markets.
Right. While Michel Moucherud flipped it around and asked, okay, what incentives do we need to create for the private sector to genuinely participate in data sharing for the public good, not just for their own profit?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? How do you harness private sector capacity and innovation within this NDI framework so that it serves public goals?
It's clearly the next big hurdle, which leads us to a final thought for you to chew on. Given that deep mistrust around data centralization and the absolute necessity for strong governance and transparency, what kind of specific rules, regulations, or maybe new kinds of public-private partnership models need to be put in place, really strictly enforced, to guarantee that when the private sector does get involved in AgDI, it genuinely strengthens the public benefit goals, instead of just carving out a captive market for itself?
That's the challenge. Finding that balance will be key to whether these ambitious digital agriculture plans truly deliver for farmers and food security.